exposing the lies of the police state.
If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and or subject to other police action.
Two-party puppet show.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
The mainstream media and New World Order.
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down? We do.
It's Freedom Files with James Burns on American Freedom Radio.
Going into the second hour, you're listening to Freedom Files 3 days a week right here on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7. And, of course, don't forget about the Saturday night show, 9 to 11 p.m. Central, right here on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. I'm James Burns. This guy over here to the left, El Director.
Howdy.
And, of course, Adam Romero, our guy back in HQ, back in Austin, Texas, making sure that the ship keeps floating on until 7 o'clock. That's when Truth Brigade takes over. And over here to the right, guy I've known for a couple of years. My dad, Carey Burns. He is the host of the new web show freedomfiles.us will be producing. It's going to be a weekly web show. It's called The Cannabis Corner. Dad, welcome to the show.
James, thank you for welcoming me, and Jeff, thank you too. And boy, I just want to say what a posh studio this is. These leather chairs, the wet bar.
It's pretty.
I feel like I've just walked in on the set of the Oprah Winfrey show. It's just this is
you don't
great.
have to insult us.
We spared no expense.
God, I didn't expect such posh situation here, but this is great.
Hey, duct tape works wonders.
Yes. Duct tape and Radio Shack. Gotta love it.
All right.
And Mackie and Sid.
So you've had this idea for doing your own, because I guess after I started doing my web show, you wanted to do a web show, and finally you decided that's it. I'm going to start writing out an idea. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, this idea actually, James, came to me a long, long time ago before any of the internet or the web shows or anything like that was going on, but we just never had a format where we could get out there and get the message and words about cannabis and the cannabis plant to different people. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this. I think it's going to be very educational for not only the people out there who use the cannabis herb, but also the people who don't, and a lot of people who have questions about the different aspects of this plant, the laws, everything. We're going to go back to the very beginning when the first seed was planted even, and we're going to carry it forward and discuss every aspect from top to bottom. And hopefully, like I say, it'll serve as an educational platform for those who already know about the benefits of this plant, but also those who might have a little skepticism and need to be clarified.
Well, I think for the most part, you're going to be speaking to the choir here, because most people that listen to American Freedom Radio are pro-liberty, pro-freedom, and they recognize that marijuana should be legalized.
Right.
And so, but it's the hope that you're going to be able to reach other people out there that don't understand, that have been programmed and brainwashed. So that's really what your goal is, isn't it?
That's exactly right. I try to tap that group. I don't have to tap into the people who smoke cannabis because they already know the benefits of it. They know that this is a very, very unique plant in our ecosystem. There's very few plants like it in the world. There's very few that offer the amount of products that this plant offers, other than the smokable cannabis that people get high on. That's just one of the hundreds of uses of this plant, and I feel like that the laws are unjustified. There are no statistics backing up these laws. These laws were made back in a period when basically this group of men that made it, they met in private. None of them even believed in evolution, and the times during that period were way different than they are now. People are more educated now, and I believe really that there's been this persona developed through the years and years of brainwashing and that type of thing, that the American public has just been misled, and everything they base the laws on, everything that comes about, that they tell you how bad cannabis is and all that, it's all based on a bunch of lies. And what we're going to do,
we'll be right back. I got my dad, Carey Burns. He is the host of a new web show, which will be airing on freedomfiles.us, called The Cannabis Corner. More of him right after this. You're listening to Freedom Files on American Freedom Radio.
Tap into the Truth Frequency Sundays at 9 p.m. Central on American Freedom Radio. Freedom Radio.
Yeah. It's Tuesday afternoon, July 20th, 2010, and you are listening to the second hour of the Freedom Files radio show with me, James Burns, joined this hour by Dad, as I call him, the old man, Carey, whatever you want to call him.
Really old, man.
Really old. Carey Burns is the web show host of the new series we're starting at freedomfiles.us called The Cannabis Corner, which will be airing weekly. And I want to go into your background, okay? Tell everybody about yourself, like your back history, because you're not just some guy off the street. You have experience in the plant business. You were 30 years herbalist and nurseryman, so let's talk about that.
Thank you, James. My education background, I'm a graduate from Louisiana State University. My major was chemistry and plant biology. After I graduated from school, I went to work as a chemist for the Halliburton Company. Oh, boy. And after I realized all the corporate strengths that they had and all, I went into business on my own. And I ran for 25 years a successful retail nursery store in which our primary focus was growing herbs of all types. We grew medicinal herbs, we grew food herbs, you name it. We grew it all, and except for the cannabis, of course, because it was illegal. So we know that cannabis is an herb. We've had experience with so many herbs over the last 25 years, and it fits all of the criteria for herbs. It's not a drug. I get so sick of people saying, "Oh, you smoke cannabis, you drug head, you use drugs and all that." Cannabis is not a drug. Drugs are made in a laboratory. They're synthesized by a chemical process. Cannabis is produced in a natural way as a flower on top of this plant. I wonder how many people out there that don't use this plant actually know that. You hear these stories about, their hash production is being, monitored in Afghanistan by the United States Army and all of that. Hash is the resinous portion that comes off of the flower from the cannabis plant. It's not synthesized in the lab. It is the same thing as the smoked flowers of the cannabis plant. It's just the resin that comes off the flower. So there's a lot of information out there that people don't know, and they've just been so brainwashed in the laws themselves. When you look at the scheduling of drugs and stuff, and they've incorporated cannabis in with the illicit drugs and things. One of the criterion that has to be met for a drug to be on a schedule of any kind, let alone Schedule 1, which is the worst group of them, it has to pose a threat to the public. And this just doesn't happen with cannabis. There is no public threat with cannabis. I mean, you have drugs out there like alcohol and cigarettes that are legal that kill 500,000 people a year, and they don't consider those a public threat to anybody. You can go down to any store. You can go to the grocery store now and buy Jack Daniel's whiskey and go out and get drunk and drive a car and kill people with it if you want. But cannabis is not a public threat in any way. It's done. Most of the people who use this do it in the privacy of their own homes. They're not harming anybody. It's their own individual right, their own individual choice. They choose not to use dangerous drugs like alcohol and cigarettes, and they prefer a mild herb like cannabis. And this is where the fallacy lies in all these drug wars and all this military and police force that they've got. I've seen videos on these cop shows where they jerk young people out of the car and they've got a bag of weed on them. They throw them down the ground, pounce on top of them, and then after the show's over with, you see all the cops that were involved in the bus. They're sitting at the bar having a mixed drink and talking about, boy, we really put a dent in crime today, didn't we? And it's just so unbelievable. And we're holding up. We're talking about an economy right now that is so depressed in the United States. And we have a plant here that we could embrace that could not only create jobs, it creates so many products. You're talking about hundreds of different businesses that could be formed that have nothing to do with smoking marijuana. Marijuana, just the high that you get from the flowers, is just one of the hundreds of attributes that this plant offers. And if you've talked to anybody that has gotten high on marijuana, I don't think that they will tell you that their life felt threatened. I don't think that they felt like they were any kind of menace. I'm almost sure that none of them felt like they were criminal or that they had broken any law. That is the only danger I see with the cannabis laws, is the laws themselves. Yeah. And when that's all you've got to back on and go down and raid people's houses, pull them over in their cars and stuff like that, is the fact that you have this law in place. Well, wait a minute. Don't you have to have something to substantiate to have such severity, such severe penalties and all that? So it makes you start to wonder, wait a minute, why are all these people at the tune of $1 to $1.5 million a year being arrested for cannabis and put in these prison systems? Does that make anyone out there think, hey, maybe this is an easy way to fill up the prisons? When you look at the cops that go out there and solve murder cases, solve rape cases, kidnappings and stuff, they have to spend a lot of time on that. Those aren't easy cases for them to do.